it is time to get started. Like I said, Happy New Year, happy 2023. Can't believe we are already here and starting a whole new year ahead of us. If we have not met, my name is Maggie. I'm the Community Product Manager for DataHub and excited to walk you through what we have for you today. All right, so Paul and I have some quick announcements, and then from there I'm going to go into a review of 2022. I know we're a few days into the new year, maybe 2022 is behind you, but personally I'm not over it yet, so I want to take some time to celebrate because we did a lot of amazing stuff. From there, we're going to talk through some improvements to our search experience, and then we have a bunch of sneak peeks of some UI functionality that's coming up. Also some schema registry, requirement removal, and some kind of smarter data profiling, and also a Chrome extension. So a ton of really great stuff. We should have more than enough time to get through everything today, so hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end as well. So yeah, quick set of announcements. Paul, you want to take this one?
We are continuing our workshop series. Our last workshop on integrating DataHub and BigQuery went really well. This is a continuation of that series. We'll be doing Snowflake next. This is going to happen as last time, 2 weeks from this town hall today. We'll be sending out the ad event invite so that people can sign up. There are, again, limited seats, so please do sign up. This is geared towards beginners, DataHub admins, and anyone who has a Snowflake instance that wants to do a run through of the UI integration or UI ingestion process for DataHub. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you there, and please reach out to me on the community if you have any questions about what will be covered. Thanks.
So January is going to be full of events. We also, in that same week, have our first AMA of the year. We're going to be welcoming Chad Sanderson to into our community. He's super active on LinkedIn talking about data contracts. He also just created his own Slack community. If you are not familiar with that one, it's called Data Quality Camp. I think there's like over 2,000 people in there after just even a few months, so super active in there as well. So data contracts, definitely like a big buzzy topic these days, and Chad and Shashank are going to kind of take the lead on a forum. So I will be sending out some resources so we can start to, collect questions from the community. So if data contracts are on your mind, feel free to submit questions. You'll see some more information both through our newsletter and in Slack. And this one, I really want it to be very tactical. So not only kind of like the conceptual why data contracts, but also how do they fit into your stack? How do you integrate them? What's the benefit? All of that fun stuff. So we'll dig into the nitty gritty there. All right, let's do a quick round of community shout outs. We, as always, like to take some time to appreciate folks in our Slack community that are providing support to other folks. The more that the community can step in and help one another, the more it provides bandwidth to the kind of core maintainers of the DataHub project, so we can keep cranking out amazing features and also moving through code submissions. So massive thanks to all these folks for stepping up and helping us out there. We're going to do things a little bit differently this time around our project updates. Instead of doing an update of all the features that we shipped in December, that's going to be kind of packaged into the year-end review. But I do want to take time and give a big shout out to all the contributors over the last month. So in December, this is one of our highest months of PRs that we've ever shipped across our DataHub repository and also our DataHub Helm. We had 257 PRs move through across 42 different contributors, including 13 first timers. So massive shout out to you folks. Fantastic job. And also, December is generally a month for people to kind of like coast and wrap things up, and maybe we'll address it in the new year, but look at us. We didn't do that at all. We kept cranking. So amazing work there, and thank you all for your hard work. Last but not least, on the roadmap front, we had too much to cover today, so we didn't want to pack it in here. So instead of talking about roadmap for the first half of 2023 today, we're instead going to cover it in our regularly scheduled January town hall. So that's going to be on the 26th. I'll also send out communications in the community and our newsletter as well, but join us in a few weeks there, and we will let you know what we have in store for our roadmap. Okie dokie, folks, this is my favorite. One of my favorite things to do is to just kind of pause and take the time to reflect on all of the hard work that we've done. I think it's very tempting to just kind of like focus on what's next, what's new, what's flashy, and it can feel like there's never enough time in the world to do all of the things that we want to do. But I think it's just really critical for us to just kind of like take some time to reflect and appreciate all of the hard work that we put into these wonderful things that we've built. So I have put together another round of our year in review. So let me see here. Okay, so let's take some time to look at what we did in 2022. So I sent out a survey. You probably saw a Poly survey go out just to get a sense of, we have over 5,600 people in our community. What are our roles? What do we do for work? Where do we live? Where are we in our adoption journey? So just at a high level, our Slack community grew almost 3 times in the last year. So we ended 2021 with just around 2,000 people. We're steamrolling ahead towards 6,000 people, so nearly 3 times as many folks in our community. We are across 57 countries and 27 different time zones. That's more, I think we added like 8 new countries over the last year, but we are very global. This community is extremely active and extremely global. In terms of roles, we're still skewing towards data engineers and software engineers, but we are starting to see more and more data analysts and analytics engineers and product managers come into the community, which is super exciting. That means that we're no longer just focused on kind of individual ICs that are maybe implementing DataHub within their organization. We're also pulling in people who are end users of the application as well, which is super exciting. In terms of our industries, we're skewing more towards infotech and e-commerce, but we're also seeing a lot more folks coming in healthcare and fintech. And this part is really exciting to me. We're looking at our adoption stage. So where are folks within adopting DataHub? A year ago, it was very heavily skewed towards just trying to see if DataHub's the right fit, maybe rolling out a POC. But this year we're seeing that well over half. So well over half of our respondents are either actively deploying DataHub into production, so they're past the POC stage, or it's running in prod and they're actually rolling it out. So it's really showing a real level of maturity of the project and the adoption stage. I'm super, super excited about that. I also think it's important for us to kind of understand what tools are being used across all of our different stacks. This is a great signal to us to understand where do we make sure that we have really robust support for our connectors, and also just kind of externally, it will help folks that are maybe curious about the community. It'll help them understand what tools are people using. Is this relevant to my stack? Is there overlap? Yes or no? So in looking at this, we asked, what sources are people using? You wouldn't be surprised, but I think 98% of folks that responded are using more than one data storage layer. So these are not mutually exclusive columns here. It's just whether or not, the percentage of folks that say that they're using it. So at the highest level, S3 and Kafka and Postgres are the most widely adopted from a data storage layer. In terms of BI tools, I was actually really surprised by this. 47% of our respondents said that they're using Tableau, followed by Power BI, which personally, my assumption was that it was going to be more skewed towards Looker. So this, like I said, this is a really great signal to us that, we should really make sure that our Tableau and Power BI support is top-notch or at parity with what we're doing with Looker. In terms of ETL tools, it wouldn't surprise anybody to see that dbt is kind of reigning supreme there. I was surprised to see that about 28% of respondents said that they're not using an ETL tool out of the box. So yeah, that was an interesting signal there. In terms of ML tools, we're not seeing a lot of activity here. But I do think that this is a really great opportunity for us to expand our network and start to get more involved with data science or ML or AI, other communities, so we can kind of start to form more of those stronger bonds. And then in terms of observability, Great Expectations and dbt tests are pretty much tied in terms of adoption. And then from an orchestration level, Airflow is still kind of the I was going to say king here. I don't know if that's the right word, but the most highly adopted in terms of orchestration tools, followed by Dagster and Prefect, which again is really surprising to me because both the Dagster and Prefect communities are really thriving and robust communities. So I think those are great opportunities for us to do more outreach and actually start pulling in or kind of like building a bridge between those communities. So like I said, this is just a really great signal for us to understand where we should be focusing our internal resources, but then also it's a great signal to external folks that may be coming in and wanting to know what's going on in the DataHub community, what tools are people using, does this make sense for me? All right, in terms of how we interacted, like I said, we have nearly, not tripled, we've nearly doubled our, no, we have nearly tripled, excuse me, our Slack community. And I'm super excited to see that consistently throughout the year, we had between, I think it was 700 and 1,200 weekly active users. So right in that 800 range. So the community, even though we're starting to scale into this kind of it's a much larger community, but there's still a ton of vibrancy and a lot of different conversations happening in there. The other way that we come together, you guys are here right now, is in our town hall. We saw over 100 people consistently throughout the year, with our peak at 185 joining in September. If I do recall, that's when we announced column level lineage. So there was a ton of excitement around that one. So we'll continue this trend in the new year. We're hoping to. Paul and I are looking for a ton of opportunities to have more events outside of town hall, so we can really start building out more ways to engage with one another. In terms of our contributions, we had well over 150 PRs on a monthly basis with anywhere between 30 and 55 contributors month over month. As a whole, in all of 2022, we had 211 distinct contributors. At this point last year, we had that number of contributors all time forever. So it's just amazing to me that we have that many people showing up on a monthly basis, contributing net new code, showing up and wanting to be a part of the project. And we more than doubled the number of PRs that we pushed through with 2,300 PRs, 1.3 million lines of code written and almost 1 million removed, which is just like so much work, you guys. Good job. It's amazing. And then in terms of our GitHub star growth, we just surpassed our 7,000 mark. We started the year at 4,600. So, just a continual steady climb there of folks that are paying attention to our repo. Let's talk about what we built. This is the nitty gritty. So in Q1, which feels like a lifetime ago, that's when we rolled out UI-based ingestion. If you recall, our UI-based ingestion was just a way to kind of copy paste in your YAML configuration. Another huge thing that we rolled out was impact analysis. So understanding the rippling changes of breaking change based off of our dependency graph. We also rolled out viewing great expectations validation outcomes in the UI. We introduced the notion of domains and containers within the UI, or within the metadata model. So those are both logical and physical groupings of data to just to kind of like better represent how data is organized within an organization. We also rolled out the ability to start editing glossary terms within the UI. That was kind of a baby step towards making the UI a little bit more user-friendly for business users. From a developer standpoint, we rolled out our timeline API, which is really to track any changes that happen, like basically an event log to changes that happen within an entity. This is also where we started to talk about shift left. So actually emitting metadata at the source, specifically looking at DBT and extracting meta properties. In terms of, we also rolled out our Java REST emitter library. So really finding new ways to support a variety of developers, kind of using the languages that they're already familiar with. From an integration standpoint, we rolled out file-based lineage. So that was a contribution from a community member where you could use YAML to emit lineage edges where we're not automatically extracting that. And then we also rolled out net new support for Tableau, Elasticsearch, Power BI, and ClickHouse. So quite a busy start to the year. Moving into Q2, we expanded our validation support out to DBT tests. We also expanded our end user functionality for managing glossary terms. So that was creating, editing, grouping, deleting, deprecating glossary terms, all from the UI. So making that much more user-friendly for less technical end users. We also made it a little bit easier to invite users from the UI. We rolled out dataset schema history. So that's this first screenshot up here, so you could start to see the version log of how a schema evolves over time. We also rolled out this notion of a sibling entity between DBT and warehouse entities. So it's really just kind of like grouping those things more logically together to make it more intuitive to folks that are using those tools on a day-to-day basis. From a developer experience, John rolled out our actions framework, which is a huge step for us. That's a way to start to build custom responses to changes within the metadata model. We also rolled out our open API support, revocable tokens for API, so kind of having a better security layer on our API. And then again, rolling out more robust ways to emit metadata with our Java Kafka emitter. Last but not least, for integrations, we had Protobuf, which was contributed by David, who's now a part of the core DataHub team. We're so happy to have him. We had a handful of other community contributions with Iceberg, Vertica, and I believe Pulsar was, or no, Presto and Hive was a community contribution. I believe Pulsar was as well. So again, definitely a busy little round of work. Moving into Q3, we made some really big improvements to our UI-based ingestion. So if you remember in Q1, it was a YAML. You just kind of copied and pasted it in there. There wasn't a ton of signal to help you feel confident that what you were implementing was accurate. So we started rolling out easier to use ingestion forms, which with much more kind of like tooltips and validation. We also started surfacing up run summaries and the ability to roll back ingestion from the UI, so making that much more of a verbose and robust experience. From the search experience standpoint, we rolled out big improvements to our search cards. So we're trying to make it easier for folks to basically feel confident that a search result is relevant to what they're looking for. So that's surfacing up trust signals like how recently was it updated, how frequently is it used, who are the owners, who are the top users, etc. We also rolled out bulk edit support within the UI. So what you could do was, instead of kind of manually clicking into individual entities, you can make bulk edits to multiple entities at once. So that could be applying tags or terms or domains, updating the status, of the deprecation status or the owner. So really just making it easier to manage much higher volumes of metadata management within the UI. From the developer experience standpoint, we rolled out a circuit breaker for or Python API for assertions and that says operations. I'm not sure that's supposed to be there, but basically when an assertion fails, it's actually circuit breaking or signaling out to your orchestration tool to prevent a series of events to happen from there. So making DataHub much more kind of like a way to prevent shipping or executing pipelines based off of outcomes of validations. We also rolled out, it is operation is correct. Okay, thank you, John. So then also expanding our, expanding our dev tools. We rolled out a big emitter and additional REST endpoint indices of a single entity. Q3 was a really big quarter for us on the ingestion side to just make sweeping changes to ingestion performance. This is from a ton of feedback from the community, specifically around Snowflake, BigQuery, Redshift, Looker, and DBT. I mean, we've just done a tremendous amount to make sure that those recurring ingestion pipelines are much more performant. We also shipped a new Salesforce ingestion source there, and some support for deleting time series data. Last but not least, we closed out 2022 with a bang with our highly anticipated and highly requested column level lineage, which is this beautiful graph up here. We also shipped managing lineage from the UI. So in cases where maybe you're not automatically extracting lineage, from your ingestion source. You can go in and, kind of subject matter experts or people that understand those pipelines the best can manage and add dependencies upstream, downstreams between data sets and pipelines or dashboards or charts or whatever it might be. We also rolled out advanced search, so it can be you can kind of have much more complex search queries within the UI to really fine tune and pinpoint exactly what you're looking for. John rolled out or shipped DataHub views just in the last release, which is a way to basically create saved queries that you can either use for yourself or share with your teammates. That way you can just kind of cut through the noise and kind of create these curated lists or subsets of entities that folks care about the most. In an effort to help folks get up and running with DataHub more effectively, we rolled out in-app product tours. So when folks come to DataHub for the first time, they get a tutorial of the different screens or the different kind of like entity types or different things that they can do within DataHub. That way it's kind of taking the burden off of DataHub admins to manage all of the onboarding. We're trying to make that much more user-friendly so folks can just kind of jump in and get moving on it. Last but not, or a couple other things, we now support impact analysis via Neo4j. This was a huge contribution from a community member. We're also shipping, sending automated updates to Slack or Microsoft Teams based off of change in your metadata graph. Last but not least, on our ingestion side, we have automatically extracting column level lineage for Snowflake, Looker, Tableau. We will be supporting more sources in the near future. But those are the ones that we were able to start with this year or in December. We also have support for dbt Cloud and automated PII classification. So I dare say myself, 2022 was a freaking amazing year. You guys shipped amazing code. You are incredible community members. Your feedback is critical to the work that we do. We are so appreciative of you. And I hope that you can take the time to just appreciate yourself as well for all of the effort that you've put into it, because we wouldn't be here without you. So yeah, cheers to you guys. Happy 2022. And now let's go build a bunch of really great things. So one part we left out is kind of the actual humans that were behind all of this. This is where I'm excited to announce that we are rolling out the DataHub Practitioners Guild. This is a way for us to celebrate the biggest contributors to our community, and really just like show appreciation and show kudos where kudos are due. So there's a few different folks that we want to shout out today. For folks that have gone above and beyond in community support, we want to give you a massive, massive thank you. I didn't realize that I had to click through all of these, but we'll make do. These are folks that are continually showing up and going above and beyond to answer questions in Slack, provide a really welcoming and warm environment for others, and just in general, just like amazing humans for us to work with. So thank you to these wonderful people. Next up, we have our top contributors. These are folks that are not only contributing to the code base, but they're consistently contributing to the code base. These are folks that are taking on net new features or really pushing the boundaries of what the project can do, and really just like providing a ton of momentum for the community itself. Last but not least, we have our DataHub champions. So these are folks who are going above and beyond to, one more, there we go. These are folks that are going above and beyond to help others understand what is happening in the DataHub community, how to work with DataHub, share their success stories, share their trials and tribulations, and maybe things that weren't necessarily successful, but really advocating for the DataHub community, the DataHub platform, and amplifying what we are able to do with the platform. So massive thank you to all these wonderful humans. I will be sending out additional highlights with more detail of what each person has contributed. But for those of you who are on the call, thank you so much. We will be having some swag coming your way. Do I love it? Yes, obviously I love it. And yeah, we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. This community never ceases to amaze me. I also realize I've been talking for a half hour at this point, so I think I'll probably just dial it back a little bit. But if you can't tell, I freaking love you guys. Like this is like the honor of my career to be able to work alongside all of you guys. So thank you for a wonderful year, and let's go get them. All right, enough sappiness for me. David, it's your turn to talk about search improvements to search.
Yay! Great job, by the
Yay!
way. Love the overview.
Thank you.
Like, great job there. Slides looked really cool.
Thanks.
All right, so let's talk about search. So this section, we're just going to go through some of the improvements that we've made to the search experience. If you've ever been like me and copied and pasted an earn into the search bar expecting it to come back with results, this is for you, which is one of the first things I did and was a little disappointed that I didn't get something back. So let me actually. Hey, Maggie, can you actually share the slides?
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
I should have asked.
So the plan is we're going to go through the slides of hitting on some of the features, and then I think we actually have time to do a quick demo, and I'll share my screen and do the demo. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about rolling out the search improvements. It's not yet merged into master yet because of the upgrade process is a little bit involved. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So like I mentioned earlier, exact match earns, so you can copy and paste either complete or partial earns into the UI and get relevant results back. Next. So you can take a part of it, you can take the full earn, you can take a copy and paste like half of it, even if it truncates and it's not a complete section of the earn. Paste it in there and again, get relevant results back. So earns are now fully supported and searchable. One of the other improvements that we've added is stemming. And so what stemming is it'll take words that are, say, plural, singular, so events versus event, and it'll give you the same results. Similarly for words like log, logging, logs, and it'll truncate the end of the words so that the search results and behaviors are a little bit nicer to deal with. You don't have to be very exact in exactly how you're typing in your search query. So that's just kind of a nice kind of improvement to have when you're, not very like looking for something don't have a great idea of exactly what you're looking for. So again, like just improving the search results for stemming. We are using a multilingual stemmer from Elasticsearch in the backend, so that's going to hopefully support some other languages besides English, but English is obviously supported. We also rolled out a way to add synonyms to the search experience. So if you take a look at a lot of our earns and the way that we describe like our production environment, for example, we use the term prod, which in fact means the same thing as production. So you can do things like search for production and prod and get the same results. The synonym list is something that is a work in progress. So we threw a couple of generic terms into the synonym list for this first version, things like staging, STG, prod, production, and things like that. But we're going to grow this list over time. And hopefully, again, for somebody who's looking for something that's kind of related, that's a way to make that happen without doing any kind of like more in-depth kind of logic. And then the autocomplete. So in the past, things like spaces or changes in the underscore or columns and things like that can actually change the way that the autocomplete was working. So now it doesn't matter. You can type in partial words as long as it's doing that prefix matching, and it can do a prefix matching and infix matching. So in a multi-phrase term, it'll match terms in the middle, for example. And then just kind of make the autocomplete behave a lot better. And hopefully we'll get into some examples and we'll take a look at Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and before we get to the rollout piece, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll take a look at some of these things live. And we'll do. All right, let me know if you can see my screen. Good.
We are good to go.
All right, so I guess one of the first things we'll do is we'll just go and grab an earn. And so I'll be kind of sloppy here and just kind of grab part of it here. Starts with the colon. Oh no. Of course, my demo is not working. I swear I tested this earlier this morning.
We love a live demo.
Yeah,
Did you pray to the demo gods?
I did not.
There, that's why.
Hey.
All right, so what appears to have been a regression is the partial earn matching. The full earn matching is still working, so that's good. So you can jump into the full earn. And if I think what's going on, I think there's, I won't debug it here, but all variations and all partial earns should work just fine. So that's the goal there. The other thing we can talk about is we can look at, so for example, in the screenshot, the difference between logs returning results for logging. You can do this for, say, event, which I think was in the screenshot. So events would also be returning. And if you take a look at what's going on here with the autocomplete, I can keep typing and it appropriately picks out the prefix matching. And if I keep going and add the backup, you'll see that this is then swapped as the top result there. So autocomplete is working nicely. We can do a search for production. And so the only environment that I have here is in fact production. But all the documents are tagged with just prod. And let's see. What didn't I do yet? I think that's all of them. Fact users. That was another example. All right, so besides that, that's pretty much all I got for the demo. And I will turn it. Was there a question?
To auto completion. You did auto completion. You didn't show that.
Oh, sure. I can show that. Wait, one sec. So the auto completion is exactly what you see down here. So if you start typing in logging, so as I type here, this is the auto completion down here. These are the results from the autocomplete.
Just a quick question here. So, so this auto completion, does it respect the policies? Like if the user doesn't have the permission to view the entity page, will the suggestions exclude those results or will it include those results?
As of today, I believe it includes results. So we had talked about a feature about post search filtering, which we don't have implemented yet. So as of today in this branch, it's not going to, so you could certainly search for something and find it and go to the page and perhaps not be able to see it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Other search questions? All right, I'll turn it over to Ryan, who's going to talk about, what are the implications of actually deploying the search features to take advantage of these. The other thing besides the search features that are kind of coming along with this is also the ability to fine tune your Elasticsearch indices. So you can do things like change the replica counts or the sharding in the cases where you are looking to get better performance. So that's another benefit that you can do with this same kind of rollout process that Ryan's going to talk about.
Yep. Maggie, do you mind sharing the slides again? Okay, sweet. Thank you. All right, so one of the things that is necessary with this change is, so the Elasticsearch indices have to support the stuff that David has talked about, there's backwards incompatible changes to the indices. So it requires a reindex for the indices. So previously, whenever we would update mappings and settings, this would be a blocking process as displayed on the left there. So within MAE consumer, basically there would be a just a little blocking process that halts it from starting up before we actually start consuming messages. So what we wanted to do was have a little bit more flexibility in providing these infrastructure level improvements, especially for like larger deployments where reindexing is going to take longer. So we separated this process out into a separate upgrade job that is built on the rails of our other upgrade jobs. And essentially that is going to orchestrate sending the message out to both GMS and MAE consumer instances in the deployment that tells them when they will be able to start up once the full upgrade has completed. And having this separate job allows us to handle issues where we want to do other infrastructure level improvements and have something that's waiting on having multiple different components that are waiting on those upgrades to happen. So with this updated architecture, obviously DataHub upgrade is a required component at startup. So whenever it's treated more like a cron job though, so it's not a persistent resource. It's not going to stay up there spinning once it's completed what it's doing. So it'll get spun down once the upgrade operation is completed. We've reflected this in all of our deployment options, so there shouldn't be any necessary changes from a deployment option if you're using the default, either the Docker Compose or Helm charts. So it should be minimally invasive on the requirements for deployment. The thing to know, though, is that when this does get put into a release, it does require some downtime because while the indices are being upgraded and reindexed, they will be put into read-only mode. So it's recommended during this time that it's done during off hours and so that you're not running ingestions or putting things under heavy load while the reindex is happening. GMS should still be able to serve read queries of the previous instance if you're doing something like a rolling deployment with Helm, then you should be able to still have GMS up. So we've built in resiliencies to failures because obviously this is a long-running process. But in the case of unrecoverable errors that happen during reindex, we do clone the we have the ability to clone the index via configuration option during the process. And so that preserves all of the data for the indices in case any errors happen. And of course, when all of this goes into release, we're going to have plenty of documentation and noting in the release notes that this is coming and that it will require downtime. But we're excited to, yeah, go ahead, David.
I was just going to point out the current internal testing that we've been doing as far as like the length, the downtime, it's about 25 minutes per 1 million entities. So if you have less than 1 million entities or 1 million entities, you're looking at about a 25-minute reindex time. If you're larger than that, then it multiplies.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, David. But yeah, so with this architecture update, we're excited to be more empowered to make these infrastructure level changes whenever we we need to make improvements on the back end side, and we're hoping to make the upgrade process as minimally invasive as possible. Yeah, thanks. Any questions?
Awesome. Let's, for the sake of time, let's take questions to chat. I do think David and Ryan, if you could take a look up, I do think there may be some questions that haven't been addressed yet. All right, Aditya and Brittanie, are you guys sharing, or do you want me to?
If you could share, that would be great. Is that
Let's
cool?
do it. Yep.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Aditya. I'm a software engineer at Acryl Data. And my coworker, Brittanie, product designer at Acryl Data, and I are going to talk a little bit about some of the updates rolling out to Lineage, specifically to address the problem of stale lineage and having better, more complete lineage history. So let's take a step back, and I'm going to borrow a little bit from Professor Collins. You can call me a guest lecturer, if you will. And we're here in Lineage 101 class today. So why is visualizing lineage important? Like, what are the main use cases? Why is this useful to data practitioners? It's useful so that we can understand how like a data set or any other entity like might have been created or updated. So, if I have some snowflake table, maybe it's really useful to know that this was created by joining two other snowflake tables. It's also an important diagnostic tool for helping out with proactive impact analysis. So, I can understand if I have like a breaking schema change, like on one data set, like this might have an impact on some downstream dependencies. So it tells me that I should be careful in making that change. It's also really helpful for helping out with reactive data debugging. So, like let's say I have a problem right now with this entity or this data set, and I don't know like why there's an issue. If I look at the lineage graph, it can tell me like, what data sets are upstream of this, and which of those might be causing this data quality issue that I'm experiencing. Next slide, Maggie. So let's talk a little bit about what Lineage looks like today. It's obviously really helpful for tackling those use cases that I talked about, and like we've heard a lot of feedback from the community that it's really helpful in doing so. So how do we, like create those lineage edges? So right now, the lineage graph is going to show the last time that DataHub observed or like heard about a lineage edge. So in the case of like, data set to data set lineage, we might be parsing these edges from looking at audit logs at ingestion time. In the case of something like, I don't know if all of you are familiar with the Airflow plugin that we have available, but if you use Airflow and you don't know about this plugin, I would highly recommend you look into this. But in the case that we're, let's say like I have a data set, and like once it meets some requirement, that triggers an Airflow task, and then that Airflow task like ends up like having this other data set be created. So like I can have edges come from that Airflow integration. So while this is really great, there are a few problems with the way that Lineage works right now. So what if I know that, this data set Z that I have, that it actually used to be created from data set X, but like now there's a new version of data set X called data set Y. So the lineage graph may, like currently, the way it works is that we actually overwrite lineage. So before, like, if there was an edge from X to Z, there might now actually be just an edge from Y to Z. But like maybe like I want to know that, at some point, this data set X was upstream of data set Z. There's also the case with like, the Airflow task where, like let's say that I had an Airflow task A that's now been replaced by a newer Airflow task B, it's new and improved, and that data set Z is actually constructed from this new Airflow task. So can we go on to the next slide, Maggie? So how can we make Lineage even more useful? So we know that DataHub already keeps track of when a lineage edge was created or updated. When trying to find the most recent lineage edges, we may want to filter out older stale lineage edges. So let's go back to that Airflow example that I was just talking about. There might be an edge from this old Airflow task A, but like let's say that like the data practitioner who is in charge of like Airflow for my organization, knows that we actually removed that Airflow task. That task doesn't exist anymore, and because it's been replaced by that newer Airflow task. I want to be able to obviously have the most accurate information possible as to what my lineage looks like right now. And, you know, currently we may have edges from both the old Airflow task and the new Airflow task, like, you know, when that's like maybe not the most accurate for how things look right now. Can we skip to the next slide, Maggie? Cool. So we went back to the drawing board and thought a little bit about like how, you know, we can make this more usable for all of you. So what we came up with is that we're going to add this new feature to the lineage graph where you're able to filter out, filter by timestamp. So like, let's say I just want to know all the lineage that was there in the last 7 days, the last 14 days, or like maybe I want to see what lineage looked like over a custom range. And this is something that you're going to be able to do. There is something to note here is that like primarily right now, this is going to deal with that like stale lineage case that I just talked about, like, you know, going back to that Airflow example where like, you know, maybe this task no longer exists. Like this is exactly useful for tackling that use case. This will eventually, we're actively working right now on, you know, appending lineage from sources instead of just overwriting. So like, let's say that going back to that case where, you know, let's say that I have this data set that is created from this new data set instead of an older data set that used to be upstream of it. That's something that we're actively working to make improvements on. And this view, like once that work is complete on the ingestion side, we're kind of making rolling updates to our sources there. Is going to be able to allow you to, you know, get that complete lineage view over like whatever time period that you're looking at. Next slide, Maggie. Yeah, so our ultimate goal is to kind of understand what lineage looked like over any time period. You know, so like, let's say that I wanted to see what lineage looked like from December 1st to December 14th, because like I know there was maybe like some incident during that time period. We're actively working towards that goal, and like providing this feature is the first step there. As I talked about, as we like roll out those improvements to our ingestion connectors to, you know, like append that lineage information, we'll get all the way there and we can unlock complete lineage history. Cool. I'm going to hand it over to Brittanie to talk a little bit about a survey that we're running for this feature.
Hi, everyone. As Aditya mentioned, I'm a product designer. Today's actually my exactly 1 month here. So I'm really excited to get to chat with a lot of you and learn from you. And this is, as he mentioned, one step into the future that we're trying to go to. So Maggie, if you want to move to the next slide. We're still in the process of working on this feature. So this is a great time to hear from all of you, and I will continuously be reaching out to all of you to get your feedback as we work on new features. So if you want even more DataHub swag, which is super valuable and awesome, as Maggie is showing us today, give us your feedback and a few of you will get a chance to get some more.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll be sharing out the deck and links to all of this in announcements. So you don't need to worry about memorizing this little link. All right, we are actually short on time, so we're going to do a couple of things. We're gonna actually switch the order of sessions really quick. So we're going to cut over to Chris really quick. And then Tomasz and Pedro, I'm going to ask you guys to record follow-up looms of your sessions, and we can post those along with our YouTube video. That way folks can get I don't want to rush through those because I think there's a ton of really good content packed in there. So Chris, do you want me to share? Do you want me?
I can share.
Or do you want to?
That's cool.
Okay,
yeah. Cool. Let me get this going.
Every time I think that we're going to be good on time, I'm drastically wrong.
That's how it goes, you know, whatever. Yep. I'll be kind of quick here though. So Let me share my slide. Cool. So yeah, hey everyone. As the title of the slide says, I'm going to be showing you a little sneak peek of a fun project we've been working on recently, and that's our very own Chrome extension. Before I move on, let me pose a quick question for all of you. Have you ever been going through Looker or some other BI tool and thought to yourself, gee, I wish I had some more insights and information about this dashboard before I use it to make important decisions? If your answer is yes, then I have some news for you. Let's move on. With our new Chrome extension, we seek to bring you the insights and context that you get in DataHub right inside the source itself. Now, when you're on a page from your source system, you'll be able to click on a little floating icon from our extension and expand a drawer to get information about the specific data asset that you're currently viewing, all without having to leave the page you're on. In our first version of this extension, we're focusing specifically on Looker, but don't worry, we'll soon be coming back and focusing on other sources as well, like Tableau, as well as empowering you all to set it up for different sources that you care about. But anyways, after all this preamble, let's hop on in and show you how this little thing actually works with a little demo. So first I'm going to go to this other tab and yeah, let's say like in a hypothetical situation, let's say I'm using Looker to check out different dashboards in order to make some business decisions. What I'd really like to know is whether or not a dashboard is trustworthy before I can rely on it to make these decisions. I also don't want to have to open a new tab, go to my DataHub instance, search to find the asset that I'm looking for, and then use that profile page in a different tab to check out and get this information that I want to know right here, while I'd rather be checking it out right here in Looker. Let's also say that I heard about DataHub's sweet new Chrome extension, and I just went and downloaded it to see if it can help me out. So the first thing that I need to do is to configure my DataHub domain so the extension knows which instance to point to. So I open up my extensions, I click on the DataHub one. For this situation, I'm going to point to localhost 3000, just for the demo purposes. And then once I have that configured, I'm ready to click on this little floating button down here to open up a drawer to get some insights. And then once it loads, like I mentioned earlier, what I'm looking for here are signals that tell me whether or not I should trust this dashboard that I'm on. Right away, I can see at the top that we have some unhealthy data inputs. If I click to view the details, I can now see all the upstream data sets for this dashboard that have failing assertions on them. So this isn't just directly like 1 degree upstream. This is going to be anything upstream of this best of breed campaign dashboard, for example, that has failing assertions. Also, if you're using our SaaS managed version of DataHub, we'll be surfacing any incidents raised on any upstreams as well, to give you an insight about whether or not like we should be concerned about the quality of this data coming into this dashboard. So good thing I had this DataHub Chrome extension to tell me that I maybe should be a little bit concerned about the quality of this data before I start relying on it. Also, I can always click on any of these upstream assets if I want to open up to a new tab to see the profile page if I want to dig a little bit deeper. Some other signals that I might be looking at are whether or not, like, for example, I know my company uses something called a certified glossary term, and I'm not seeing that certified glossary term. That also gives me a cause for concern whether or not I should be trusting this dashboard. So I can also always see the owners here and let them know that something's up, because I'm not really feeling too good about this dashboard. Safe to say, I'm going to hold off until we do some more investigation. But let's check out another dashboard here that I was also hoping to use today. If I'm going to go to adopted pets, you can see that if I have the drawer open, it remains open when switching to different pages, as long as that page is something that we can give you insights about, like another dashboard here. Immediately, you can see that things are looking a little bit nicer as far as data quality inputs go. So it says we have healthy data inputs, which means that all of the upstreams for this guy have all the assertions upstreams of this dashboard are passing. You can also see that the certified glossary term is here right now. I'm feeling pretty good. This Chrome extension is giving me the confidence that I can use this adopted pets dashboard as my liking goes. I can close that up. Now let's go back to the slideshow real quick. Yeah, so yeah, as the title said, this is just a sneak peek right now, as this feature is actively under development. So once we close a few loops and tighten up some bolts, we'll be getting this out to you guys to use how you wish soon. That also being said, we're very interested in any feedback that you all have. So please reach out in Slack and let us know what you guys think about this new feature. But yeah, I'm gonna stop it there and hand it over to you, Maggie.
Amazing. All right, before we head out, I have one more quick thing to share. So during the, as I mentioned earlier in the session, for the Pulse of the Community survey, we sent it out to every Slack member looking for information about, how things are going, what you're integrated with. And we also said that we would choose 5 random winners for our DataHub swag box and a $100 Amazon gift card. So drum roll, please. Our winners today are Jordan, Ben, Alexi, Anders, and John. I'm not sure that any of you are here, but that's okay if you're not. I will reach out to you folks and we'll get you some swag and some money to Amazon. And folks, that's it. We have 2 sessions that we weren't able to get through. So like I said, I'll work with Pedro and Tomasz to get those recorded as looms, and we will, or just as like separate videos, we'll get those loaded to our YouTube page and posted in announcements. And I think that just about wraps us up. So thank you all very much again for all of your hard work in 2022. We will return to our regular town hall cadence. So the last Thursday of every month, that will start again in January. So we'll come back together in just a few weeks to talk through all of the wonderful things that are going on in January. And like I said, we'll also review our upcoming map together. We'll stick around if you guys have any questions, want to chat, but otherwise, thank you all. I appreciate your time and your energy and your attention, and we'll see you on the internet. Adios.